Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Civil Service Training Institution's fourth virtual session, and thank you so much for joining us today. We would like to highlight that today we have received an estimated number of 1,220 registrations from 17 different atolls of the Maldives. And among the registered, we have participants representing about 230 civil service organizations of the Maldives. We are very happy and excited about this. So before we continue with the session, now we have two questions to ask you. Are you overly reactive and overwhelmed by what is going on around us? And if you're looking for a better and healthier way to handle stress and sleep problems? If so, if you have these issues, we believe that this session would give you answers for it. The main objective of today's session, fostering mindfulness and well-being to prevail challenges at workplace, are to understand how mindfulness and well-being can obtain a healthy workplace and help you and your team through a global crisis. And we will also be looking into the organizational benefits of practicing mindfulness and well-being at workplace and an Islamic perspective on developing ourselves and overcoming challenges of life and work-life balance. Today, to discuss these areas, we have two experts of the field, Mr. Mohamed Misthoh and Mr. Adam Naseer.
Without any further delays, I would like to hand over this session to Mr. Mohamed Misthoh, who will deliver the first part of the session.
Well, thank you very much for the little introduction. So let's begin. All right, that's good. Hello again. Okay, so to get started, I would like to simply ask you one tiny question. Have you all had lunch? Yes? Have you had lunch? You can type in a yes if you had a good lunch. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, because you've had a great lunch, I think you all deserve to be smiling now. So can we do that? Can we look at the camera and just keep smiling? Smile at the camera. Because, smiling can trick your body or brain into believing that you are extremely happy. And this is a free thing for us, but we don't do enough of it. Did you know? If you are answering a phone, it's like, hello? Yeah, when? No. You should be answering it with a smile. Hello, hi, how are you? Because what really happens is that when you smile, there is a hormone called dopamine, which has a profound effect on the way you will behave immediately following that smile of yours. So I think the very first thing that I would like to highlight to you is keep smiling. Because it's good for your well-being, it's good for your happiness, and I'm pretty sure you've got to do that more often than what you're doing right now. My name is Misthoh, and I think I want to tell you two little things about who I am. Two little things. It's about two passions of mine. One passion, I think the biggest passion really of the two, is that I run a lot. I'm like, even today I've run more than 16 kilometers. It's like 1.5 hours of running. And this is very common in my life because every day I have to run. But running has a big impact on something else, which is larger than my life. And that impact is, I've co-founded a company called TFG, Total Fitness Group, in which we are trying to create a running revolution in this country. And I think a lot of people are starting to get the benefits of this revolution, which is good. And by the way, July 4th, do you know what we celebrated? 10 years of shaping people and making people run. So that's my first passion. But there's another passion, which is the second one, which is about reading. I read a lot. Would you believe this year, up until right at this very moment, I have read more than 15 books, and it's all well summarized as well. Now, when reading a book becomes a passion, imagine how much attention you're going to put into reading them. Well, I read and I also try to apply that to my second business, which is Mindfields. And Mindfields, we have done quite a lot of employee-related work with big and small corporations in Maldives, state-owned organizations as well. And one of the things, I'll tell you three things. One is we've done motivational studies, which basically looks at how motivated are you when you're working day in and day out. We've also done TNAs, training needs analysis, in order to figure out what the organization needs in terms of knowledge. And we also have been lucky enough really to get the opportunity to work on exciting, very unique projects. Like, for example, culture change initiative of a big company in the Maldives. And these are things that gives you insights into the way people behave in organizations. And yes, their well-being as well. So I just thought that I'll tell you those two little things about me, and I don't think we have enough time to talk more about me. So enough of me and enough of smiling. No, keep smiling. Let me move on to what I'm going to talk to you about today. Today, I'm going to tell you three things, and you've got to remember these three things. And I hope you're going to pay attention to these three things that I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, these three things that I talk to you will have a profound impact on your understanding of well-being, as well as how you can become happy in your life. So three things, that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Not in just your work life, by the way. These three things can have an impact on every walk of your life. Everything you do, be it family, be it friends, be it anything, be it meeting a stranger even. And I hope that these three things are going to help you a lot in your day-to-day lives. So let's move on to the first thing that I'm going to teach you today. The first thing is, where is our boat headed towards? Where are we going with employee well-being? Where do you think we are headed towards? Is there a world out there which is very happy? Is there a world where you will be very much results driven to work in organizations? Is there a world out there which will make you get engaged to do great stuff that makes a huge impact on the lives of many people? Well, of course, that's the vision. That's what we all aspire to do. And look, the list is huge. And I thought I'll show you a couple of things. Like, for example, results driven. I've already told you, being focused at work. Being focused matters a lot when you're working. And today, in this presentation, in this session, really, I'm going to talk to you about being focused quite a lot, because that's got a lot to do with your well-being. Balanced lifestyle between your work and between your family life. We are going to talk about being resilient, being engaged, being creative, motivated, and also being effective when you're working in your, wherever you are working really. But this is the vision. This is where we are headed towards. It may take 10 years or another 2 decades to go there, but surely enough, that's where most people are headed in this whole world. Western world, yes, they are headed towards this world. But what about us? How far have we gone in this world? So this is the first thing that I would like you to keep in your mind, that the world we are headed looks like this. What's the second thing? Well, the second thing is, where are we right now? When it comes to well-being, where are we right now? But I'm definitely going to tell you this. The world that we want to go is nowhere close to the world that we are living in right now. Not even close. It's a long way out there. But I'm also going to surprise you by the details that I'm going to share with you about the world that we are in right now when it comes to well-being and happiness. So let's look at the details, yeah? There is such thing called a paid reality. Don't know about you all, but I heard this while I was really researching for this particular session. I'll just admit to that. The paid reality, when you really get into the details of this paid reality, you realize that, oh my God, where is this world headed? And I got to do something to make sure that I don't become a victim of the paid reality. So let's walk through with you, what is this paid reality? The P stands for being pressured continuously at work. I'm sure all of you would agree that you are pressured at your work already. Changes are happening, COVID has come to our lives, deadlines are still there, and also add to the fact that politically there are changes happening all the time. So we are pressured all the time, and that's no good for our performance, because more pressure means we are more stressed. We are also in a world where 24/7, every single moment you are connected, always on. And there are sad realities of this always on world. Another thing, the third one, information overload. Information overload means that regularly you are bombarded with information, and it's so easy to get them, to listen to it, to read it. So when you're bombarded with this kind of information, it is impacting this. You may not really want to do something because you are learning too much of it. Whereas knowing enough might do the job. So we are bombarded with loads and loads of information. And the final one, we are also distracted all the time. I don't know about you all, but I'm sure there are people in here in this session who are already distracted. There is a mosquito going on, and your focus is on the mosquito. Your attention is right there. You hear noises outside, and your focus is right there, not in this session. So we are distracted continuously all the time. Now, if you really want to be successful in life, if you really want to be a good father, great mother, or if you really want that promotion at work, you got to work on your attention, because attention is directly related to your success. Simple as that. But can I ask you a question? Is there anyone here who can achieve success without working for it? Is there anyone? You can type in if you are one of them. I'm sure there is none here who can achieve success by not working for it. To attain success, you got to do something. There must be actions everywhere. Things that you do, it ultimately brings you success. So things that you do brings you success, actions. But the thing is, above action, there is another thing which you need to worry about. Because if you do the wrong things, if you continue doing the wrong things, you will never be successful. Because probably it will be the quite opposite of success that you will experience if you continue doing the wrong things. So yeah, success really matters when you do the right things. But above the actions, there are choices. You need to filter through a vast array of choices the very right choice or choices that you will put into action, which will bring you success. So choices matter. And this is where attention comes in, because the choices you decide is high related 100% to the attention that you can put on a given moment in time. Attention really creates success in your life. Focus is attention. Focus gives you success in your life. So paying attention really, really matters. Look at this diagram, for instance. You're working very busy, and in your mind, what's that? Soccer today or football today. When you're playing football, in your mind, my wife, I have to take her to a restaurant. And when you're at a restaurant, eating with your wife, it's not the office that you're thinking. It's more like, oh, yeah, sure. The wife is still there. So you are not in the moment. Being in the moment is absolutely critical to your attention, because if you can't be in a moment, you cannot retain your attention on a given task that you're doing. So attention again is critical. Now there was a research that was done, and this research wanted to figure out the times at which adults are not paying attention while they are doing something, a task. And look at this figure. 47% of our life we are wasting doing things while not thinking about those things. Is that clear? You do things, but your mind is somewhere else. It's called mind wandering. You're somewhere else. 47% of the time, this is what we do. Meaning in this session, probably 47% of the time of this session, your mind is going to be somewhere else. So mind wandering is a huge thing. And this is a reality. If you want to retain focus on something, retain attention to something, imagine this, because humans have this tendency. If you don't practice your mind to be back in this moment, it's not going to stay in the moment, because it's going to fly away, drift away towards something else. So mind wandering is a huge thing, a big disadvantage in our lives. Now, add to the fact that mind wandering is there, but conscious attention, that's another key important thing. Using all our senses, the touch, the smell, the taste, the listening, the vision, using all 5 of our senses, we can only at any second of our lives acquire 11 million bits of information. That is the total information you can acquire. But the conscious mind, the conscious attention has a limit of its own. And guess what? That limit, out of 11 million bits of information per second, the conscious mind can only take 60 bits of information per second. 60. Imagine that. And if you think you're very, very good at multitasking, add all these things into your own life. Your mind wandering 47% of the time, 11 million bits of information you are acquiring, out of which only 60 bits of information per second you can retain. And then you are still dividing the pile of your attention in order to do this little work, say hello to someone else while doing this little work, and your phone is ringing and you want to answer while you're doing this work. Now you are dividing that 60 further, and that's not going to help you. So this is where we are today. Imagine that. That's the second thing I want you to understand or learn or be aware of. This is where we are today. But I've already told you where we should be going, where we are now. There's a huge gap, 2 decades worth of gap, I think. But how do we narrow this gap to a reasonable level? Now, that's the question which brings us to mindfulness. We do that, we narrow that gap by being mindful. Now, what's mindfulness? Here's a definition of that by Ellen Langer, who's written a beautiful book called Mindfulness. And this woman is the best out there when it comes to research and understanding of mindfulness. She says to be mindful is to be in the present moment, to be in this moment, noticing things out there, noticing the wonders that we didn't realize before, and not making any judgments. That's mindfulness. There are many, many, many things you can learn about being mindful. But I'm only going to tell you again three things, three little things that you can do to be more mindful. Let's look at the first one, shall we? Am I retaining your 60 bits of information so far? I hope so. First one, learning to be in the present moment. How can you learn to be in the present moment? That's the first thing. To learn to be in the present moment, you got to do what everyone does when it comes to your body. See, when you are obese, what do? You work out, you go running, you exercise. If you want to build certain muscles, what do? You exercise, you build and focus on those muscles. Similarly, to learn to be in this moment, you got to practice, you got to make sure that you give enough exercise to the muscles in your brain. That one way to do that is through meditation or focusing on your breathing. Look, even when we pray, our mind wanders. And that's not a good thing, really. I mean, fighting with your mind while you're focused on praying, that's a shame. But one can practice to be focused on what you are doing, which is praying. Similarly, at work, when you're working, you need to be in that moment. Because being in the moment is also related to happiness, how happy you are. So being in the moment is important. And there's one I would like to highlight to you, one form of meditation called transcendental meditation, short for TM. Now, I tried this during Ramadan, and I did enjoy some of its benefits. Let's put it that way. Because I kept on reading and reading and reading a lot during lockdown. And to read, you need to be in that moment as well. And I think it helped me in so many ways as I kept on doing that sort of meditation. All you need to do is, it's a very simple thing, 20 minutes a day or twice a day. All you need to do is think about one thing, and they call it a mantra, something that doesn't make sense, that doesn't have a meaning, that doesn't make you think too much. So that's called a mantra. So you have to think about that mantra. For example, why don't you all close your eyes? Just close your eyes for a second. Yeah, close it. It's okay. But smile as well. Now, when you are closing your eyes, I want you to think about a pen. Think about a pen. Now open your eyes. Did you manage to just think about the pen? Probably not. Probably not. I won't agree if all of you say yes, 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 yes. Now, at this very moment, as you try to think about the pen, your mind wanders away. What's for lunch? What's for dinner? What do I have to do next? So you're not in the present moment if that happens. And when this happens, you need to bring back your focus to the pen. the pen. Focus on the pen. And continuously you practice on focusing on the pen. But transcendental meditation, they say, keep repeatedly saying in your mind the mantra. Pen, 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 pen. No. It doesn't have to be pen as a mantra. It's just an example. I will not reveal my mantra because it's very personal. Now, they say when you do transcendental meditation, it's far better than sleep as well. Because the whole idea of transcendental meditation is you transcend your mind into the very depths of water. Imagine as you dive into the water, deep, deep, deep inside the water, everything calms down. Every single thing. And that's the whole idea of transcendental meditation. It doesn't have any rules. I mean, no strict rules. You don't have to focus on your breathing. You can do it in a car, anywhere, any place you could do. So this is the first thing I would like you all to understand when it comes to mindfulness, or how to take your life to that wellness or happy vision that I just talked to you at the very beginning. What's the second one then? The second one is the idea that what you practice grows in you. What you practice grows in you. Now, when you talk to your friends or your work colleagues, I guarantee you there are so many people here who would have negative words associated to your own beautiful self all the time. I can't do it. I'm afraid. I'm shy. All these things has an impact on yourself, because what you're doing is you're practicing your body to believe, your mind to believe that you can't do it, that you're stupid, that you're shy. What you practice grows in you, which means you can turn that around. Associate positive words with yourself. You can do it. You are great. You are not forgetful. You can focus. Don't be the type who really put your own body in pain by thinking that it's fun to say I can't or I'm not able to. You can. You always can. The very last one that I would like to highlight to you is focus on process, not the outcomes. Now look, this is the biggest mistake that our ancestors really have made and passed on from generation to generation to generation and to our hands as well. Guess what this is? The way we praise people. Think about it. How do you praise the people around you? If they do something amazing or something great, what do you say to them? Oh, you're amazing. You did a great job. If your child brings home an A or a distinction, what do you say to the child? Dari fulhada more, dari fulhada gade. If your child climbs a big wall out there, what do you say? Hada macha ka sheda fulteri. I'm sorry, in English, you climb really high up there. Now, when you focus on the process, it's totally different, because you don't give priority as much as you're giving today to the outcome. Now, this applies to schools and even governments as well, unfortunately. If I have the power to do one thing in our education institution right now, right at this very moment, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, never ever reward people for the distinctions they're getting. There's going to be no top 10s from now on. No top 10s. The reason why I'm saying this is because you need to give focus to the process. When someone achieves something, there's a process. There are things that that person would have gone through, decisions that person would have made, heartbreak heartbreaking things they would have gone through. They would have to acquire courage to say no to many things before they reach that moment which we are praising. So the point is, start praising the process. Start praising the effort. Because this may be passed on from generation to generation to generation, and it's in our hands right now. And you can put an end to it as well. Right now, you can put an end. So those are the three things that I thought I would talk about when it comes to mindfulness. Now, in conclusion, I hope that I managed to get a little bit more than 30 bits of information to your conscious mind per second. And also, I hope that I managed to get your attention on me, on this moment, for more than 50% of the time. Now, one more thing I would like to highlight. That wellness, the vision that I just talked to you about, is decades away. Decades away. Do you want to wait for that long? No, why should you? Because mindfulness starts from you. You are the person who's responsible for your happiness. You are the person who's responsible for your wellness. If you don't take care of your body, nobody's going to take care of it. Why should a supervisor? Why should an employer? So it all starts from you. I hope this session will make you do things a little bit different from now on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Misthoh. It was a
Yep.
very, very fruitful session, really. And so you have highlighted that we are always pressured and always we are on modern technology, and we are always loaded with information and often distracted too. So your advice for us was that we need to smile more, we need to be present in the moment, we need to pay more attention, notice more, and make good choices which will lead to better results. Also, the importance of focusing on the process and enjoying it rather than putting so much focus on the outcome of everything, isn't it?
Yep.
Thank you
Absolutely,
so
yes.
thank you so much. It was really wonderful. So now I would like to request Mr. Adam to take us through an Islamic perspective to developing ourselves as a coping strategy to overcome the challenges of life. I'm sure it is going to be a very useful session as well.
Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And it's a pleasure and an honor for me to be part of this great program. And I would like to begin my session, because time was also at a premium, with a small story. Okay, I'll just share the screen first. Now, is my screen also visible to you now?
Yes, it is. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. This is a story that is attributed to the CEO of Google. Says one day when he was in a restaurant, there came a flying cockroach, and then it landed on a girl. And you know what happens when a cockroach lands on a girl, isn't it? I think it will the same thing happen to me also if it lands on me. So what happened was she started screaming, shouting, and jumping, and then it flew and landed on another one, who was more dramatic than the first one. And to their rescue at that time came the waiter of the restaurant. And when he came close to them, it came and landed. It landed on him. But he didn't shout, nor did he jump. He just observed the behavior of the cockroach and held it by antenna, and then threw it out of the window of the restaurant. Now, my question is this: one cockroach, three people, very different behaviors. Who is to be responsible for this? Can you type your answer on this? Is that the cockroach? Do you agree? Who is to be responsible for this? The difference in behavior. Can I hear some? It's not the cockroach. Anybody say it's the cockroach? First guy. Okay, manager, oh, restaurant manager. Good, yeah, self. But nobody's blaming cockroach, I believe, yeah. Okay, that's the kind of mindset I also would want to tell you. Okay, now what we know is, when something happens to us, how we respond according to our own capacity to respond, isn't it? That's the same. So that's very clear when we are on the sea. If a small wave comes, when we are on a raft, a small wave will blow us off. But the same wave will have very little impact on if you are on a boat. But if you're on a ship, there will be no impact at all. So this, I think, emphasizes the importance of developing our own capacity to withstand these challenges of life. But whether we are on the boat or the ship or a raft, waves will come, and we will always be shaken because trials and tribunals and the challenges are part of life. And we are told in the Quran that even people before us were tested and tried, more severely than what we have been going through. But the good news is this: God never holds us responsible for beyond our capacity. That's the good news. But what is our capacity? Do we know our capacity? I think one of the best example I can give you is if you go to a zoo, to an elephant cage, you will know that the biggest and the largest animal in the zoo is chained to a very weak chain. Why do you think the elephant can't escape from this prison? Because it's the biggest one in the zoo, and it can very well easily break the chain, but it doesn't do it. But why do you think? Yeah, that's the conditioning, isn't it? So in this session, I will try to give you 3 strategies to deal with the problems, because when we face problems, to do best is actually God's intent for creation also, because we are told in the Quran God gave life and death to test which of us is best in our conduct. So being best is also the divine intervention for us. And I'm going to my role here is just to be a delivery boy, because these tools and strategies are not my own, because it was given by God Almighty. So I'll just try to deliver it in a way that is practical to you, that you can make use of it. So before I go ahead with that, please give me your consent, to share with you this gift, because if I'm a delivery boy, you should give me your consent to deliver to your person. So please type yes if you are interested in knowing what these 3 strategies are. Say yes. Are you with me? Good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so but before I go introduce you these 3 strategies, I will tell you a small background about why I should be talking about this, because I have been doing some studies on developing a leadership model that is based on the life stories of prophets. And then today I'm going to give you only one bit of it, because I'm going to tell you something about how to deal with these difficulties of life based on the life story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. That's just one part of it, because this leadership model has 3 components to it, but we don't have the time to discuss it. But why should I be working on a leadership model? Because there are so many out there. But what I found was, most of the books that are out there do not really prepare us to deal with the biggest problem of life. They are very helpful to get better and be better, and rise in the corporate ladder, and also be rich and be more famous. Maybe that for those things, those books are. But to deal with the biggest challenge of life, these books have very little help. And if I want to tell you what is the biggest challenge of life, I think the biggest challenge of life, of course, is death. And when it comes to facing death, there's the things that we hold so dear to ourselves doesn't make much sense, because at the end of life we are done with it, and then now we don't know what is ahead of us. And when we study the life story of prophets, we know we will be getting ready for death as well, because when death comes to people who follow their examples, death is something very different. We are told in the Quran how they are being greeted at death. And so I'll rush through because we have very little time now. But one thing I tell you, you can't see? Okay, there's this
Yes,
quote
sir.
from Jim Carrey. Oh my God. But I am showing it very. Okay, now can you see? Is it big? Okay.
Adam, we can see the presentation very well, and I would like to request the participants to please keep your audio off. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So Jim Carrey says, I wish everybody is rich and famous because then only they will know, that it is not the answer in life. So wealth is not the answer. That's why I wanted to develop this model, and hopefully I will share this very soon with you. And there is this verse in the Quran that says, in the stories of the prophets, there's a lesson for men of understanding and hope. And I pray that, we will get this lesson today for myself as well as to you as well. So coming to the topic about developing ourselves from the life story of Prophet Musa alayhi Islam, there's three themes that I noticed. One thing is how we responded to everything that happened to him. So response, because the best way to learn anything is to do it, isn't it? You can read the best book on swimming and still you will not learn how to swim unless you try to jump to the water and then try to swim. And then the next one is reflection, how he learned and grew. That was a very famous story in Surah Al-Kahf about how the learning expedition that Prophet Musa alayhi salam took. And also revival. Mr. was talking about that, and I'm so pleased, that a big burden of mine is taken, because revival, how we have to physically and mentally be healthy and revived to do well, because we can't do well if we are stressed, if we are worried, if we feel guilty, and if we are not focused. So this revival is all about mental, physical. Revival. Okay, and then I'll be talking about only about the spiritual revival in this. So to begin with, how to respond. It's a big thing and we have very little time. So I said, I'm going to share with you only one strategy from each of these. And talking about response, we learned in the Quran that when Moses was given the law, God told him, be among the grateful. So being grateful, gratitude is the first thing. I think this is the defining quality of a believer, gratitude. And one thing that was very interesting about the life story of Prophet Musa alayhi Islam is now he led the Israelites out of the clutches of Pharaoh. And then now that they have crossed the sea and they are in the desert. And at that time, they are in the desert, they don't know what is ahead of them. Prophet Musa alayhi Islam gave them a speech, a khutbah. And in that he said, that my Lord has commanded me to openly declare that if you give thanks, I will increase you. Now the question, but if you are ungrateful, then my punishment is also severe. But the question here is this: what is there for the Israelites to be grateful at that point in time? Now that, of course, they are free from Pharaoh, but now they are in the desert, and they don't know what is ahead of them. And these are people who have been subjected to slavery for so long, and their children are being murdered in front of them, and their women are being raped and ravished. And then I'm asking you, think, what is there for the Israelites to be grateful for? But surely, why Prophet Musa alayhi Islam said that, my Lord has commanded to openly declare that if you are grateful, I will increase. There should always be something to be grateful, isn't it? I think the best lesson we can learn for us, for you and for me, from this verse is that, we are not as bad as their condition. So if they can be grateful, we too can be grateful. But what we learn about gratitude is that gratitude has nothing to do with the status we are in. It's a mind, it's a frame of mind, because we see there are many poor people who are grateful. There are sick people who are grateful, and very rich people who cannot be grateful. So gratitude has nothing to do with your material status, but it is everything to do with an attitude of the mind. Okay, so if Bani Israelis can be grateful at that time, we too can be grateful no matter what condition we are in. I think that's a very powerful lesson we can learn from. And there's always a lesson, how we perceive things. That was a story of a rich dad, who took his son to a farmland to show how blessed he is. I mean, their family is. And spending few days with them on their way back home, the father, being a very thoughtful person, asked his son, how grateful are you about us that we are so rich and that that we are so blessed? What did you learn from this whole trip? And the son replied saying, Dad, I came to know how poor we are and how rich they are. I mean, the farmers. And the father was in shock and said, what do you mean by that? He said, we have birds in our cage, but they have birds on the air. We have a swimming pool and they have an endless river. And we have fruits that are canned, but they have fresh from tree. And we have maidens to serve, but they serve themselves. Likewise, everything, the list he gave was in comparison. He made the father feel that we are very, very poor compared to the farmers. So whether you are grateful, you are ungrateful, it has nothing to do with your possession. Gratitude can be exercised, and this is an attitude of mind. And I know Misto is a very he said he's obsessed with running, and so I also have started running these days, and I even saw Misto, and I go to run on bridge, and one day a friend of mine told, if you are so busy, why don't you buy a treadmill and keep it on at home so that you can save some time? I said, no way, treadmill is not so luxurious enough as the bridge, because treadmill, the best I thought I checked was 18,000 rupiah. But now I'm going to run on a $200 million worth bridge, So I feel more rich when I go to bridge than at home. Okay, so, but we normally we can be grateful in normal circumstances, but in a circumstance like this, when we are having COVID, how can we be grateful? How can we be grateful when we are really in a trouble situation? Now, in Islam, we are told, calamities come for a reason, for very, very good reasons. And there is a hadith also that says, the strange is the condition of the believer, because everything is good for him. So the same is true with gratitude. I mean, with challenges and trials. One thing, it's an expiation of sin. Second thing is, it is also an opportunity to amend our ways, because normally we fall into trouble because of what we do by our own hand. So it's an opportunity to amend and repent. And there's also greater blessings. For example, I heard of a farmer who got $1 million, a huge amount on his lottery. But when he heard the good news of his winning, he got a heart attack and died. Sometimes we need to go through difficulties so that we can bear the better things. And then there's also elevation of status if we are patient, and if we don't lose our confidence in God, and if we are faithful, there's also an elevation of status when we go through trials. And believe me, messengers are the people who have been tried the most. So we are nowhere close to them in comparing the trials that befell on them. So there's the wisdom behind these trials, is that God says everything that happens to us is recorded before it comes into existence. And the reason is that for us not to despair over what has eluded, and not to exult in pride over what has been given to us. So that is the whole purpose behind these trials. Not to worry about what we lose, and also not to be proud about what we get, because everything comes from God. So it's to accept and be grateful. And how can we exercise gratitude? There was a very interesting study done by University of Southern California, where there's 3 groups of people. And then in the first group of people, they record this was gratitude journaling for 10 weeks. That was exercise to see what differences it makes to them. The first group of people then wrote 5 things that they are grateful about every day for 10 weeks. And the other group wrote 5 sentences about one thing that they are grateful about every day. And the other group was to write, how am I better off than other people? Okay, so this exercise continued for 10 weeks. And at the end of 10 weeks, one group was found more elated, more energetic, and also less stressed. I'm sorry. And less lethargic and more alert. So the question is, which group do you think was better off? than the other two. One group was very much better than the other two. Which group do you think? The first one or the middle or the last one? Make your guess. First one. How I'm better off than other people though, first one. Well, let's see which group was. No, it is the group that wrote 5 sentences about one thing. So when you are expressing your gratitude, writing your gratitude journal, if you write five things about one thing that you are grateful about, for example, I'm grateful about my wife for these 5 reasons. That's much better than noting down I am grateful for my wife, my son, I'm grateful for my bike, and so it is when it comes to gratitude, the the dividend is in the detail. So we have to be more detailed. So expressing 5 sentences about one thing that you are grateful have more impact than writing 5 things. I think this is going to help you a lot on how to express gratitude. And there's this prayer, you know, I love this prayer. It was from chapter 46 verse 15 that says we are praying God to make us among those who are grateful to the things that God has given to us and to our parents as well. So this prayer also helps us to become grateful, and being grateful helps us is a fundamental thing. It's a defining quality of a believer. So this is the without this one gratitude, the 2 other thing that I want to share with you is not going to be of much help. So gratitude is important. So may God make us among those who are grateful. And that was a story that, you know, one day Caliph Umar was in the mosque, and then he had a prayer of a man who was praying to God, saying, "Oh God, make me among the few of your servants, the few of your servants." And he said, what do you mean by that? After his prayer is over. And he said, don't you know, only few of God's servants are going to be grateful, so I'm only asking for that. So may God make us among them. So we were also told in the Quran that to face the trials and tribunals, to go through that and to better deal with it, seek help from patience and prayer. And now the second one is patience. Patience is a concept that was quite misunderstood, I believe, because when we go through pain and when we go through suffering, if we cry, people say you are not patient, so be patient. I tell you one thing, this is the wrong notion of patience, because patience has nothing to do with your emotion actually. For example, we know Yaqub alayhi salam loved his son Joseph, Yusuf alayhi salam, so much, you know, that he cried and his eyes got white. But he is patient. He says Sabrun Jamil, so that is he is patient, but still he cried. So this is the wrong notion. You can be patient and still you can cry. That's not a problem. But Musa alayhi salam was sent to one of the uh, most tyrant ruler, and also Israelis are also not an easy group of people. So for a person who was commissioned as a messenger to this 2 group of people, I think patience is the most important quality, isn't it? So when he went there, he found the need for patience, and there was a story about an expedition that he took. This story is in Surah Al-Kahf. You can read from verse 60 to 82, where Moses go through to learn from a person. The surah doesn't describe the name, but we know the name, isn't it? We all know the name. So and he goes through 3 events, and in each of these events, Moses couldn't tolerate. And you know those 3. I'm not going to into detail because no time. So what Moses thought was that in the first attempt he was trying to sink a ship, and the second way he killed an innocent boy, and the third he did a free work for which they could have charged. But when he couldn't bear it, when he couldn't be patient, that his teacher, when he explained the reason why he did it, was a wow moment. It was a breakthrough for Moses, because everything that Moses thought was bad was actually intended for good, and that also was done by the command of God. This actually was a drama, I believe, that was showing Moses taken that curtain off to show the real wisdom behind what happens in the world. So that's a lesson for us, because everything that happens, there's a good intention behind it. But from the whole story, if I were to give you a summary of what had happened, three lessons we can learn is, if we can't be patient, there's something for us to learn. But there are things that there's no way we can learn, because the incident that had happened will tell us that, that there are things, no matter how much you try to learn, there's no way you can learn. So, but in that cases, we must know that everything that happens, there's a divine good intention, good purpose behind it. So we must believe in that. If there's no way we can learn, believe that that happens for good, because the intention is good, but we can jeopardize the good intention. For example, the parents whose child was killed, they could have committed suicide, and that would make them, of course, bad. But divine intention was to give them a better child. And the last thing is to trust in God, so that if we are believers, if we have trust and faith in God, God will take care of us. You know that the world was belonged to a noble man, a pious man, who trusted, and he died. You know, but it says even after our death, God will take care of us if we keep our trust in God. I think that is a very powerful lesson we can learn from this thing, from this story. And so for patience, we can also pray. There's a prayer in Surah Al-Baqarah that says, "Oh God, pour us patience and make our feet firm." That was a prayer the Israelites prayed when they fought. And the last one, I think, I'm sorry, I'll try to make it very fast. The last one is prayer. And for prayer, we should know that, you know, when God told Moses to pray, he says, pray to remember. So prayer is about remembrance. So long as we are remembering God, you know, we will always be on the right track. But, you know, if chances are, you know, sometimes we will lose track. And I'll give you an example. If you have, if you know, in African countries, when they want to catch monkeys alive, they make a monkey trap. And what they make is they make a small hole in the coconut, and then they put some food, and then when it puts its hand and closes the palm, it can't take it out without releasing what is in hand. So the monkey will try to keep it and it will struggle to free itself until the hunter comes and catches it. So there are some things that we should believe in, trust in God and release for us to return the bad stuff that we are doing. So that is the repentance actually is. So from this story of Moses, we know Moses repented, and every prophet's repented too. So, but repentance is not only praying God and asking for forgiveness. It also means to stop what we are doing. And I'll give you 3 ways we can do repentance. You know, when we are born, we are innocent, but when we keep on doing bad things, we restart. You know, we become heedless. But we will have a moment in time where we will be reminded from our heedlessness to wake up. And when we wake up, you know, if we feel remorse of the big thing that we did and we repent, of course it will be forgiven. So repenting once for one sin, once we commit, is one way of repentance. If we feel bad and if we pray and ask God forgiveness, God will of course forgive. But there's a different way of repentance. You know, we were told in the Quran that there's a group of people who pray continuously every day at the time of in the early hours of the day. You know, it's Sahara time, asking for forgiveness. That is a continuous repentance. That's what the Prophet does. That's the best form of repentance. Even though we don't do a bad thing, even though we don't consciously know what the thing that we did bad, we can keep on repenting. That will make us more spiritually clean. And so this was from Surah on 23rd chapter. Chapter 23rd verse 109 is a good prayer that we can use for repentance. I will be sharing these things with everybody with CSTI, so that you can have these prayers if you wish. And from the story of Moses, we know that, you know, good nutrition and the rest and hydration and repentance as well as relationship are very important for proper functioning of us. So since you don't have time, I'm just giving you this in a nutshell. So I hope now, up to now, we have covered the importance of gratitude, that we can be grateful to God with regardless of whatever the situation we are in. And also patience. Patience is that if we can't be patient, there's something that we have to get to know. But even if we don't know, we must believe that everything happens for a good reason. Because what was shown to Prophet Musa alayhi salam is from behind the curtain, the wisdom behind what happens. We can only understand that there's a good intention behind it. And also, the third thing is prayer. We can keep praying because God says, he who trusts in God and relies on God, sufficient is God, and God will let us and to make us an opening from every problem that we are facing. So with that, I will conclude by saying that, in terms of difficulty, it's not only we believing and doing good things, but also sharing other people and enjoying other people to do good and be patient. That is how we can, as a community, survive and thrive. It's not only one single person, but community as a whole. So with that, I'll conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. I believe we learned a lot about how to deal with challenges and calamities of life and how to apply it in our daily life. So Mr. Adam has highlighted on the importance or the gift of gratitude, the importance of being grateful, and the importance of having patience, and importance of the prayer as well. So basically, he has talked about being positive and using calamities and think of it as an opportunity to make amends, and which will also increase our blessings as well. So we all agree that Mr. Adam has related to various verses of the Quran and the lives of prophets, especially Prophet Musa, very beautifully, and related it to our daily lives. Thank you so much for your presentation and this part of the session. So right now it is time for question and answers. If you have any questions, please, you can use the chat box to write your questions. First, we have got a question for Mr. Misthoh. The question is that our participants believe that Mr. Misthoh is a very positive and energetic person. So they would like to know how you fight against the negative thoughts, and how you and we would like to know, the participants would like to know Mr. Misthoh's view on as you enhance your attention and concentration span, how do you deal with it?
Okay, thank you for that question. Practice is something that I always believe in. So the more you practice, the more it grows in you. So getting myself more opportunities in order to focus on little things in life. That's something I always try to do. See, for example, if inside your home, if someone does something, however tiny it could be, just acknowledge that. Just acknowledge and thank even for that. Even if someone opens you the door, thank for that moment. Because I think that is the way we bring ourselves into the present moment in time. When you start noticing the little things that are happening right around you, the little things are very important for your focus. Because the more you start looking at these little things in the present moment, the more your brain will start developing and become stronger at it. So there is something I always do. Like, for example, when I run every morning, like I've already told you. I always try to smile at people, regardless of how tired I may be, how angry I may be. But believe me, sometimes when you get tired, anger do kick in as well. But even at that moment, if you let your mind be in the present moment and ask it to smile, it does wonders for you. So I think, yeah, that's my advice. Like, focus on the little things that are around you. That's the way I try to do it. Hope that helps.
Mr. I'm sure it is very helpful. Now we know the secret of how you stay very positive and energetic. So I
Yeah,
hope it will
can
be
I
very
add
useful
one
for
more
each
thing?
and everyone.
Can I add
Yes,
one
sure.
more thing? Like for example,
Continue.
Melanage building, that the office complex right there. There are many people who jump inside a lift and not talk to one another. You're all like strangers inside the lift. Now break that silence and acknowledge the person in front of you. Say hello, have a good day. Keep acknowledging the fact that you are in a moment. I think that's something to start as well. I try to do that, even if there is one single woman inside a lift with me, I may not do it. But if there are people inside, I try to do it because I think it's important that you use every opportunity you get to be in the moment.
Thank you, Mr. We often
Welcome.
hear that a smiling makes like it's a huge gift too for the other person, right? To make the
And
other
free.
person's yeah, it's for free. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for this advice. Yeah. The next question is for Mr. Adam. The question is, how do we address various emotional challenges like grief, anxiety, jealousy, and many other such emotions we face daily? Adam, my question was clear, right?
And sound is clear. My voice is clear.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think if I were to answer you this question there's I think from consciousness perspective we can answer because there's the Dr. Hawkins proposal. There's different levels of consciousness. There are one level people who think things that happen to me. This level one. Okay, for them everything happens to them, and there's no. If not for my boss, I would have become a better person. If not for my wife, I would have done this. Blah blah blah. So these things happen to me. At this level, there is so much of negative emotion. They are stuck in negative emotion, and then there is another level, the level called by me. At this level, you start accepting your own responsibility to make things happen. And so, but this is a good level. This is actually the level the self-help industry is addressing, because it's the more harder you work, the better you become. And so this is about cause and effect level. And there's the third level where there's a trust level where you know things happen through you, not by you. Okay, so there, how many of you have experienced days where when you wanted to do something, for example, you need a seed and then somebody comes with the seed. So it's you are in the flow state, that at that level, we know there is also a higher power. I mean, as Muslims, we don't have difficulty in believing that we are, everything is connected to everything else. So what happens is we learn to trust. So when we have negative emotions, we should know one thing from Islamic perspective as well, that nothing is lost. Okay, and this is not the end of it. And nothing is static and other than change, and everything is going to change. So we have to believe in that. I think what we have to learn is that everybody goes through this cycle of emotions, and being patient basically is to trust that this will get better, and this is not going to last forever. And that anyway, I'm going to do my best. That trust level of, I'm the third level of consciousness. It doesn't mean that I'm waiting for God to give me my bread. I will go work, but then at the same time trust that God will give me the bread, will facilitate, will make it happen. So that's the level. And the fourth level is knowing the oneness of that I cannot be better off without you being better off. I can't hate you without hurting me. There's so much of connection, the universal oneness. In Islam, we call, I mean, like this, the biggest truth in the world is everything is one, isn't everything is connected to everything else. So it's raising our consciousness. My answer, short answer is this: if you are feeling negative emotions, there's something that we have to learn. that to raise our consciousness that this is not all the bad. There's all bad things doesn't happen to let, because like it's not what can I say, it's not all bad for us. There are some bad things that is seemingly bad, but it's intended for our good. And that patience is to believe that it's going to happen. I can I tell you a very, very quick short story about that. There was this student who enrolled for a 4-year program, and he got, I mean, 2 people came for a program from same country, and then first year they failed, and the second one was worried that he was failed, and he that when the other person goes back to his country, people is going to question about him, and he'll be having a bad reputation. So he was worried for 3 years, and in the 4th year, when the first one returned, he gave some presents to his mother, and then after a week, he called to know what happened, and the mother told the plane crashed and he died. So only at that point he realized the 3 years of grief was actually worth, because he was saved. If he had passed with him, he would have gone by the same flight. I think I have answered the question now. Because some things appears as bad, but it's not all that bad.
Yes, I'm sure we can all relate to what is going on in the world right now as well, right? So this COVID-19, this situation as well, we can use it as an opportunity to be better versions of ourselves and to make use of every day and every opportunity. Thank you so much. But before we end the session, we would like to give each of our speakers an opportunity to add a final remark. Adam, why don't you start, please?
Yeah, thank you. So my final word is this: like everybody faces difficulty, so we have to support each other, and it's not a time when somebody goes through a difficult time to find fault with them or to criticize them. It's only to support them, because by criticizing, by finding fault, nothing gets better. Okay, and then we have to help each other, and whatever good we do, it always going to benefit us, if not here, then hereafter. So keep helping each other. That's my final word. And thank you, CSTI, for the beautiful initiative. This is very good. And I'm so glad to see that a lot of people has joined this session, and I'm sure many are benefiting from this. And it's a wonderful opportunity for me as well to share my thoughts with them. And I hope this is going to help to even little. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Mr.
Okay. First of all, yeah, thank you, CSTI, for arranging this. I think, like what Adam has said, this is going to be of enormous help to the people who really use it well. I'll add that bit, because no matter how much you hear or read, I think it all boils down into the actions, because actions lead to success, obviously. So I hope that this session, not just mine, but Adam's wonderful talk about gratitude as well, I hope you're going to use these things as you navigate the everyday life that we always have to navigate. I have given CSTI a post presentation write-up, which the participants would be able to read through and relate to presentation as well. Because I thought when you leave this group, some of you would lose all the knowledge that you have. But in order to retain that, I've given you something in writing as well. So I hope you're going to make use of that. And finally, my last message really is, I'm sure you all watch movies, and in a movie there is a character, and the character goes through really bad phase of their lives. And in those scenes, you see them depressed, wanting to end their life and do notorious things. But then something really starts transforming them. As in every movie, this is what it happens. I think your transformation also should happen just like in these movies. And in order to transform, you meet people like Adam, you meet many people who come and tell you that, these are little tools that you may be able to use to transform your life. And at the end of every movie, you see really more to do with a happy way of really ending the movie. And you would always know that the character is the hero of the movie. And I think you are directing your own movie and you are the character as well. So I hope you're going to use these tools that you get, not just these, but many tools that you receive every day in your life in order to become the hero that you should be. So I hope you will become a hero. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Mr. Misthoh and Mr. Adam. All in all, Mr. Misthoh has highlighted the importance of smiling, being patient, being present, paying attention, noticing, and making good choices and all, right? And Mr. Adam has highlighted on the importance of gratitude, patience, and prayer as well. So I'm sure it's a very productive session from our two facilitators, and on behalf of Civil Service Training Institute, all the participants and myself, we would really like to thank you so much for today's session. I'm sure it was very productive and fruitful, as I said before, and I hope the viewers on our Facebook page, not only the participants in this meeting, viewers on our Facebook Live would also have gotten a very insightful knowledge as well from this session. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah. Have a good day, everyone.